Welcome to Sportex. And today I'm joined by Pierre Joubert, sponsorship manager at the Titans cricket franchise, to talk to us about their string of recently signed commercial partnerships with some of the country's leading brands in their respective sector, as well as the strategy behind doing these deals. Now, let's start off by describing how does the Titans cricket evaluate and select sponsors, and what criteria are most important in your decision-making process? Welcome, Pierre.
Thank you, Gerrit. Thanks for having me. There's look, we are a very casual run outfit. Let's just start there. So I think the most important is to try not to complicate too many of these issues when we do look for sponsors. But we look for sponsors that are we align the value systems that they have with ours. We want to align with world-class brands, because we consider ourselves a big brand to align with. We also pride ourselves on not having a conflict if we've already have a partner on board, not to, for instance, go to Pepsi when we have Coca-Cola type thing. So we don't try and play them off against each other. So trying to stay very loyal. So our alignment and how we decide on who to go with, we do a lot of research on who to approach. And then we have quite a lot of sponsors to make sure that you talked about quite categories, is that we don't cross-pollinate with those things, because you're going to get yourself into trouble, because you'll end up not just losing one partner, but maybe both. So loyalty is also a big thing for us.
So being an open book in terms of how you select your potential sponsor is key in terms of building long-term relationships, you would say, Pierre?
Yeah, so transparency, I think, is a vital component of it. What we try and do is at least once every 2 months, we have a 15-minute, MS Teams call with all of them, just to make sure if something does happen in the world in our world, that the sponsors are first to know. It's important that they almost know before the public know. So that type of transparency increases the fact that partners want to be involved and they actually know what's going on in your organization.
Yeah, talking about reputational issues, in terms of access to your audience, your constituency, are there bigger demands placed by sponsors in terms of wanting to access your audience because they want to create immersive experiences and activations?
Yeah, very much so. We've seen a trend of where you used to give someone a suite and a board, and they're happy with it. These days, the interaction is much more as far as B2B business. So a decision maker wants to speak to another company's decision maker. That's something that we create a lot of platforms for. There's also a lot of your return on investment with some of these. It's not just the branding anymore. There needs to be where they can literally almost, I can say, networking with some of our other partners. So there's so many. The world of sponsorship has changed. It's not just about giving someone a board and then speak to him in 12 months' time. So we try and, like say, keep communicating with them, and then create opportunities and platforms for them to engage with each other and create a little business community of themselves. So a lot of our cleaning company will do cleaning services for some of the banks, or vice versa. But that is something that happens kind of by itself. So we just create a platform for them to meet each other, and you can imagine if decision makers meet, that type of conversation is just so much easier.
Yeah, I recall a couple of years back, I don't know if it's still the case, Ajax Amsterdam, the football club, has got a business club where their partners and other non-partners come together on a regular basis and network, and sponsorship can create that platform, you reckon?
Yeah, so I think that is the most important. Is I think these days, and we've had COVID, and everyone's talking about COVID. I think for the first time we're out of it now, where things feel a little bit better. There's been some good that came from it, but the online engagement, where you kind of miss the fact that you can stand in front of someone and literally speak to him, and see what his emotions are like, and get to know him. I mean, there's some of our partners that's been with us for 38 years. I just the Lazarus Fords, Colin Lazarus, a wonderful human being, and you kind of still every day when you see him, you get to know him a little bit better, and you get to see something different from him. So, if you don't have that, then you'll never know what they will do. Then we also run an email system, which is an effective management of stakeholders system, where we would, in a formal way, communicate with them, ask them, are they right? Are they still happy with it? Can we change something? So we are flexible. We always call it liquid. So we are flexible in how, if you don't like the suite, can we do something different for you? Try and speak to them once a year, especially the longer contracts where they're for 3 years. So if the suite doesn't work for them, because a lot of times in theory you sign these deals and there's a right or obligation that you think you're going to use and you think it's a great thing, and then when you start using it, and I use a suite as an example, is where
Yeah,
the suite's great until you have to get someone to manage it. And
yeah.
then, if you don't have that capacity of that human resource, then it becomes a bit of a schlep with it. So we try and do that to make sure that we manage the decision makers well, and also the stakeholders.
Yeah, you've mentioned earlier on it's no longer a case of a banner and a logo. And could one almost then say that sponsorship has become a science in the way you approach it?
Yeah, very much so. It's also, you buy from people. So if you enjoy someone's company, you'll tell your friend about it, and he'll start to sponsor. I also think sponsorship as a science is, you can also speak about it geographically as well. It sounds funny, but people in the north of the Yixkay is different to people on the other side of the Yixkay, is different to the people in the Cape. So it's a much smaller business community this side. So if you literally don't treat someone very well, it's not just him that leaves; it's these two friends that also sponsor with you. So it is a science. We also are very scientific when we do create these opportunities for them to mingle. That you get the right people involved, because if you got one bad apple, that can almost derail the whole meeting. So a lot of those things play a part, and things that we kind of take for granted, because we've got wonderful partners. I can literally tell you that we don't have a bad apple, so we can invite anyone. But and the nice thing is where we are now, and it's taken a few years to do, is I heard Falcon the other day. It's nice when they speak about us in such a way, because they do our marketing for us, which is
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. So monitoring social media and the sponsorship ecosystem. I made a statement the other day that the Titans cricket must be the busiest sponsorship entity in the country, because every other week you're announcing one or more deals, so to say.
Yeah, I think it's a space where yeah, I don't know if I should say this very hard, very loud, but I'm a Man United supporter, and it's hard times at this stage. But if
Makes two
you
of us.
so if you look at their social media pages, they just never stop. And I think you got to do benchmarking to some of the top sporting codes, and we try and, without spamming people, try and communicate as much as we can, and especially good news. There's always going to be
Yeah.
the bad, but if you work on the 80-20 principle,
Yeah.
if something happens and it's something good, if someone has done well, one of your players, and especially on the women's side, which is an area that we're trying to uplift in cricket, and the fastest growing side of our business as well, is that's what you want to do, is tell people the good news that's happening. It's not an arrogant thing. It's just people want to know, and you got to stay kind of relevant in that platforms, because it's so saturated. It's actually scary.
Yeah. So you've mentioned the fact that you are always open to a new deal, that you regularly interact with your sponsors. And so how do one then strategize around preventing overloading or oversaturation with regards to your bouquet of sponsorships?
It's a great question, because our stadium is just this big. SuperSport Park's not the biggest stadium when it comes to advertising and those type of things. We try and be almost so transparent that it's the days of negotiation is almost finished. So we will not be that company that if we want 10 Rand, we'll start at 14. We'll be transparent and say to people, listen, we won't ask you for 10 Rand if that's not what we needed. We are lucky, and again, we don't want to sound arrogant, but sometimes it's when someone comes here, there is times where we say no because it just doesn't align with what we want to do or doesn't suit the brand. So that's some of the preventive measures is just by saying no to certain people. We try not to because, cricket as a whole, there's a lot of unions that don't have sponsors.
Yeah.
But we try and protect almost the brand and the stadium by not trying to go too big. But if there's a category that's open, and I put category in brackets, then we'll always look at it and see if we can't almost spread it over, not just as a Titans, but maybe towards the women or towards the kids or towards our trust or towards the stadium, because we've got different offerings for different people.
Okay, great. And so the Titans cricket franchise, your overall sponsorship strategy, how do you make sure that the performance on the field matches that return on objectives for your sponsors?
Yeah, so the on-field performance, I'm not sure how the other franchises do and how they run it. We've built a bit of history, which helps with the selling of the sponsorships. We literally asked for some research, which we received earlier in the year. The last 20 years, the Titans franchise has won. The men's team has actually been the most successful franchise team in the world. So in the last 20 years, so that is something that we can always, as a carrot thrown in front of someone. The hardest part of that is to maintain that. So if you look, we've produced Proteas, which is, I suppose, probably our primary job. And what the nice thing is we've produced well-managed Proteas. And if I say that, it's Proteas that almost spread the gospel for Titans, and they want to play for Titans, and they go all over the world telling people that, if you want to play somewhere, you want to play at Supersport Park in a Titan. So, and that's kind of something that we've just stumbled on because we have had some homegrown players who love playing cricket with their friends. And that's made us a very strong franchise. So it is difficult. A coach that comes here, I don't want to say probably after the national job, this is probably the most difficult job to do because there's a certain expectation, not just from the fans, but also from stakeholders and boards. So that's always hard. But we kind of leave the coach, let him get on with it, and whatever happens is the consequences is on him. So we try not to mix the business, not to say pleasure, but this pleasure of the team. Let him run the team and see what happens, and with that, obviously, he goes the consequences, whether he wins or loses.
No, great stuff. Thank you, Pierre. I'm guided by our time limitation. That was Pierre Joubert, sponsorship manager at the Titans cricket franchise. Thank you for your time, which is very much appreciated. I hope next time we can have a more in-depth conversation on just one aspect, because my intention is to talk to a lot more amateur federations and guide them through the process of sponsorship, and people like yourself can be of great assistance. That's where we would leave it for now. And thank you for watching the SportX channel, which is hosted on TalkX TV. Until next time.